just taking that time for myself. It's not like a long length of time, but it's just a break away from the world, and not even just social media, but like just every issue that you have. Like you just let everyone know, hey, I'm in here for an hour and I'm good. Like even work, you know what I mean? And so it's another thing, like creating a barrier for the noise at work too, for me personally. You hear things, there's rumors, there's gossip, there's attitudes, and you just need to take a break from that. You gotta.
Welcome to episode 40 of Love, Growth, and Narratives. I'm Frederick.
And I'm Tiffany.
Today we're going to be talking about signal to noise. And what I mean by that is that with all of the stuff going on these days, from social media to all of the different distractions that we have, how do we filter through all of that and figure out what we should really be paying attention to? How do we get away from that and figure out from an emotional standpoint, worry about our emotional health as well as the health of the people around us? And how do we make sure that we're concentrating on what's real? But before we get into the conversation, wanted to send it over to Tiffany to see if she had something to say here.
Hey there. Once again, we thank you so much for following us and subscribing. Please continue to share and like our channel. Also, we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just please consider passing this on to, friends, coworkers, just so we can get some more feedback and get discussion going around the country, around the world about things that matter. We appreciate your support thus far. And we've got some new followers and some new comments, and we appreciate that all the time. We really do.
Absolutely.
And if there's also topics you would like us to delve into, please feel free to comment that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we ready to get started?
We are ready to get started. All right.
Okay.
All right. We're back. So the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is, at least over the past decade or so, there has been this barrage of information that comes through, whether it's social media, whether it's through the news channels or YouTube or whatever the case may be. And especially within the last few months, for obvious reasons, there's been a whole lot of breaking news and everyone going crazy. And the problem is that it's hard sometimes to filter through all of that and to make sure that you're staying focused on what is really important and what you really need to be thinking about. And so how are you dealing with all of this?
Well, I'm just recently really trying to figure it out because I'm a social media junkie and I can scroll for hours. I am trying to scale it back or at least change the algorithm a bit. Hitting like on, because there'd be things that I like, but I forget to hit like on it. So I need to hit like on it. I know it also counts how much time you spend on something, but hitting like on more uplifting, positive, lighthearted things. And I used to do a glimmer a day and post myself. I need to go back to that. But I'm really trying to, I don't want to be someone who's just not in the know. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
That doesn't feel comfortable, but it's too much of the same thing being said over and over by many different sites. And then the angle changing just ever so slightly, sucking you in. So I'm just going to have to try and just scroll past, maybe, I don't know, maybe I limit the time on my phone. I know I've done that before and I just hit, ignore, but it's getting to the point where I really need to stop doing that, because right now there are other things there's always other things that are more important, obviously, but there are other things that I want to give my attention to. And if I bog myself down with all the negativity, when I give my attention to those other things, it's going to feel, I'm going to be negatively giving attention. And so I want to be coming from a more happier place, but I also don't want to be with my head in the sand. So just finding that balance, realizing that, hey, if I already saw something on Instagram, then I'm not going to watch the same topic on TikTok. I don't know, maybe narrowing it down. Same thing on Facebook. Like instead of seeing it 3 or 4 times, right? Like I remember the news. I don't really watch TV, when we do, it's like, it's cable or whatever.
Yeah.
But when I did watch news, like 257, all those channels, they'd show the same news over and over again at the 6 o'clock hour, the 9 o'clock hour, the 10 o'clock hour, the 11 o'clock. And it's like the same story again and again and again. And that was frustrating. But now it's the same 40 stories,
right?
Over and over again. So I don't know. You just have to what is really important to know. I mean, I like to be updated on crime that's happening in areas that I'm in. Of course, I need to know what's going on in our country and how I'll be impacted by that. But I just spending less time on there is the best thing I can say to do, and like do some of the other things that I love to do. I also got this app called Headway, I believe it is. And it's like 15 minutes of like just short ways. You can choose the topic that you want, but I always do like self-help and stuff. And just 15, and it gives you like little points if you hit the targets. And I really like that. It's something, yes, I'm still listening to something and I'm kind of being told the way to think about something, but it's in a positive way.
Yeah.
And I could take that and hopefully apply it to my life. And then I don't feel like I need to sit and listen and watch all the gossip. I don't know. I know you don't delve in it that much, but actually I feel like you still do, because you watch a lot of YouTube.
I do, but it's like I actually did take a break from it. I was a news junkie pretty much my whole life. I mean, even going back to childhood, I used to, my parents pushed me into watching the news and reading the news. And so I was deep into it pretty much my whole life. And then I would say somewhere around 2019, 2020, with so much going on, I took a break from it because it was so difficult to figure out what ground truth was, because everybody had their angles. And in getting away from it, I got frustrated because it's like, now I don't know what's going on. And so what I started to do was I started to look at a lot of diverse channels, looking at from different angles. But what I do is I don't look at I don't look at any YouTube channels or any kind of social media where it's all about slamming the other side, and so when I see on the thumbnail, it's, they dissed the other side, or they smashed the other side, or they slammed the other side, then I'm already not interested. Already not interested.
Right.
I'm okay with disagreement, but this, I have to slam and smash and beat up and whatever you want to call it, go to war with the other side. It's not interesting to me. In some ways, intellectually, it's almost a little cowardly, because you're really not putting your opinions up there for actual scrutiny, for good faith conversations. And so what I do is I watch and listen to and read a lot of the channels where they're looking at it from both sides, and where they're analyzing it from both sides, and where the anchors are on both sides, and they have good faith discussions, and where you don't have, two people just yelling and screaming at each other.
Right.
Because that to me, I don't care about that.
Right.
I don't care about that.
Right. For me, I do like to hear everyday people's thoughts on things. So I do read the comments. What I'm trying to do is, if I see something aggravating, or see the kind of people who are making comments just to be shocking or rude or disrespectful, not to, get involved with that, or not even read that. But I've learned a lot from people in the comments, and I've also taught people from having good faith conversations in the comments. And so I appreciate those. Sometimes the headline is shocking, but when you start to read, some people have a little more information, be it even something about food, right? The latest post about how your food's killing you, you know? Sometimes someone in the comments has some really powerful thing to say that, hey, that study's not really true, or it's not fully developed, or whatever the case may be. And it's just, I enjoy that. But what I need to do is limit it. That's what I need to do, is like less time, still give myself that time and space because I do enjoy it. But when I feel that it's weighing me down and I'm thinking about it when I'm not on, that's when I know, like, wait a minute, this is too much. I need to step outside. And there's a million other things that I'm not doing for myself and my mental and emotional well-being that I need to put on my list of things to do. So,
and that's one of the things that I'm really good at not doing is reacting to the headlines, because one of the things that I've learned is that when these headlines come out, if you just take a deep breath and give it a couple of days, more often than not, more information will come out, which will oftentimes make that initial headline look silly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I see where people react to that first headline. And then when you look in the comments and you see people putting up videos and they're flipping out about that initial headline. And it's like, just take a deep breath.
Right.
The story hasn't even come out yet. Let's just relax, let the evidence come out, and then let's react to the evidence when more of it actually surfaces.
Right.
And because there's been so many times when there have been riots and protests, when the actual information comes out, you kind of end up looking silly. And so let's just relax a little bit. Not only that, but you also have to be careful how much emotional energy you put to some of these things.
Right.
And I've had to do this with myself when I'm looking at some of these things and then ask myself, does this really have an impact on my life or the people around me, the people that I care about? Does this really impact them at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it really make that much of a difference?
Right.
Or am I just going crazy over nothing? And that's another thing that we have to be mindful of, is with this shocking culture right now that we're just getting ourselves going crazy over nothing. And so one of the things that I used to do, and I'm about to get back to doing, is my sensory deprivation tanks, which I love so much. And for those who don't know what that is with the sensory deprivation tanks, is basically you go into this room and you strip down naked, you take a shower to wash all the scents and everything off of you, and then you walk into this tank, and this tank is normally about 18 inches of water. That's about the water temperature is about skin temperature, and so you normally don't feel the water, and you sit in it, and it's about 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt. So you float along the water. You don't really feel the water because, like I said, it's skin temperature, and you float. And when you go in there, there's no sight, no sound, no smell, no nothing. It's sensory deprivation. And you're normally, most of them are for an hour. The place I go to is an hour and a half. And to just be able to just, for that short amount of time, to just lay there with your thoughts and nothing else, no other level of stimulation. Oh, it's so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so awesome.
I agree that having that mental break is just, you can't replace it. Like even just going outside, just taking a short walk.
Yes.
Or like last week or whatever week it was, spring break, I got a facial, and then on a different day, because I wanted to make sure I had 2 days of like really getting relaxation, I got a massage.
Yeah.
And just taking that time for myself. It's not like a long length of time, but it's just a break away from the world, and not even just social media, but like just every issue that you have. Like you just let everyone know, hey, I'm in here for an hour and I'm good. Like even work, you know what I mean? And so it's another thing, like creating a barrier for the noise at work too, for me personally. You hear things, there's rumors, there's gossip, there's attitudes, and you just need to take a break from that. You got to talk to yourself. Really, I think self-talk is huge.
Absolutely.
And I do it. Like this morning when I woke up, I thought about probably at least 5 big things that are going on, whether it's in the world or it's in my life. And I felt like anxiety rush up to me. And I told myself, no, right now, just do 3 gratitude instead.
Yes.
And it immediately, I felt this relaxation go on in my body. So it's just getting myself to do that more frequently and make it a habit, or rewire my brain, as you always say, I think is really important, because there's a lot coming at us and we have to be knowledgeable. We do. You don't want to wake up and like your bank account's empty, or, you know, your house is ransacked.
Yeah.
But there also is like this, you know, they're constantly embedding you with fear.
Yes.
And that's something you don't want to live from fear-based. So you kind of have to take yourself away from that and make sure you're replacing it with good things. We've been going out. We went out twice this week, you know, which is not something we do often, but all of that is just, that's a distraction from the distractions, basically.
Yes.
But it's a good distraction. It's social. You know, you're enjoying yourself and building your relationship with yourself and with your friends and
but
family.
I think one of the things that you said a few minutes ago was important, because when you were talking about your facials and your massages and stuff, was that it's just a short amount of time. You don't have to take long amounts of time to do these things.
Right.
Whether it's just an hour or what you were talking about in the morning, you know, with gratitude, it doesn't take humongous amounts of time to just recenter yourself, you know, but you do need to do it.
You do need to do it.
And so if you just take breaks during the day for just a few minutes,
right? Yeah.
To just turn off all of the distractions and just recenter yourself.
Yeah.
It has, I mean, just wonderful. It pays off in great ways for the rest of the day.
Absolutely. And if you get the urge to grab your phone like I do, I mean, I don't at work, because I mean, I'm grabbing it for different reasons. Our alarm's going off where the kids need to go here, there, and everywhere. But once you come home, or you're away from work and you find yourself grabbing your phone, maybe grab your phone to do something like sending a text to someone, telling them something nice and amazing, finding time to squeeze that in instead of looking at something on social media that's going to bring you down, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe something that's going to bring somebody else up instead. Replacing those habits with something similar, like you're still using your phone, but you're using it for good. You're putting out good. I think that would help me, you know, quite a bit. So,
yes. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. We had a little technical difficulty there with alarms on the phone here, but we'll get back to it. And one of the other things that I wanted us to talk about, because this was something that was something I had to learn from one of my previous relationships, was being present. I was told on several occasions I need to be where my feet are. And, you know, and it was right.
Yeah.
You know, because I know that sometimes when I'm out somewhere and I'm talking to people, and people look at me and it's like, where are you? You know? And so now I really try to concentrate on, when I'm in conversation with someone, actually being there, you know, not paying attention to, because, you know, I have an Apple Watch. A lot of people have smart watches that are giving you notifications. I try to ignore all of those notifications and just try to be with whoever I'm talking to at the moment and just try to concentrate on that conversation. Have you had those issues as well?
Well, you know that I have, because you have that issue with me.
Yes,
so.
I do. I wasn't going to say that, but I was just figuring I'd just give you the chance to say it yourself.
Good one. I mean, my mind is going a bunch of different ways, like, and I don't even notice it drifting off. Like, I'm not present, even if it's not about talking to you. Sometimes with myself, I'll take something out of the refrigerator that I need it to just, you know, go to room temperature. I'm like, okay, I'll get back to this in 2 minutes. Completely forget about it for 12 hours, you know, and that's happening a lot. And or misplacing things like within seconds. Like, I just put that down somewhere. Where is it? That is happening quite a bit. And I remember a teacher that I used to work with years ago. she was like, you have too many things going on.
Yes.
You know, and you're not, you're trying to multitask, which right science says you really can't, but
right.
Women, we can do it though.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
Yes, we can. But anyway, it's getting harder, right? I mean, menopause and all these kind of things that are going on, and just more people and more things to think about, plus the noise from social media. Like your brain is just scrambled.
Absolutely.
And so I would also ask that people, sometimes I don't even notice it, that I'm like not present. So just asking, I think I asked you, like, let me know, like if it seems that way to you, you know, just let me know about it. But yes, I definitely do that. And I don't know if, I'm not trying to blame it on my job, but I am getting asked and interrupted thousands of times within a day. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I have to tell the kids, like, okay, like they're all around me asking me something. I'm like, just wait a minute. Let me finish this one. Let me take the roll. I cannot answer no one's bleeding. I'm not looking up.
Miss Moore.
No, literally. I'm not even going to look up away from this computer until I do what I have to do. And there's other things too. It's like, let me finish this, you know?
Yeah.
Just, and just letting the person know, hey, are you listening? Are you there? Are you okay? Everything okay? I mean, in a nice way, you know what I mean? But it is hard when a lot of information is coming at you. Sometimes you're just like, okay, yeah. And you're thinking about something else. I don't know what to say about that other than, you know, just trying to work on being more conscious of doing it, of drifting off. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And I, you know, for me, I also try to just sometimes just put all the distractions down. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when I'm in my car, I'll even, you know, I don't listen to a lot of music in my car. I normally listen to podcasts or audiobooks or whatever. But sometimes I just turn off the stereo altogether and just look around, you know. And it's wild because the times that I do that, you know, I may have driven down that street 100 times and it's like, I didn't even know that store was there. Yeah. You know, and it's like, you'd be surprised some of the things that you see. Yeah. That you've driven past 1,000,000 times when you just get rid of the distractions and just look around you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, I like to, you know, ride my bike at the beach. And, you know, I normally, there again, I've got my headphones in and I'm listening to an audiobook or a podcast. Right. All right. So we had one more interruption.
That just goes to show exactly what we're talking about here, right? Like, notifications, interruptions, some of them, they're necessary, but.
Yeah. And sometimes, you know, because we do this on our phones, you know, it's just sometimes they want to make notifications whether we want them to or not. And it's just, and most of the time it's on your phone, but you know, it's okay. Okay.
Whatever.
But yeah, I mean, I have found that the times when I'm riding my bike at the beach and I just, you know, take my earphones out and just relax and just look around, you'd be surprised the things that you see that, you know, like I said, I've ridden my bike in this main part of the Strand so many times. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, I didn't even see that. And, it, you know, just taking time to just be present where you are, you know, in conversations with people, just taking time to just listen to what the person is saying. Right. You know, this may be a person you've talked to several times. They may have said some of these things several times, but because your mind was all over the place, you didn't really pick up on what they were saying. And so it's really critical that we take these moments to just block out the world and concentrate on where we are and just be where your feet are.
And I want to say, you know, for people, there might be people who are so busy, right? They have young kids and, you know, a spouse and a demanding job, whatever the case may be, that they find it hard to take out big chunks. But like we said earlier, just doing it here and there, like doing little bits of it, I think is really important. And it doesn't mean ignoring, like the only time I ever really feel completely relaxed is when all four of us are together, me, you, my mom, and Joseph, because it's like no one else is probably, I mean, I have my friends, of course,
right,
but are going to, am I their first contact? You know what I mean? And so with my mom, it's really hard for me. This is how I got addicted to the phone in the first place, is me turning the phone off one time that I was at work. I mean, turning it completely off. And she was trying to reach me, and she tried calling the office, and the office wasn't answering the phone. And anyway, she ended up, the emergent, she had to call 911, and they had to take her to the hospital. I didn't know about it until she was there. And from that point on, I've been like glued to my phone. And now with having cameras and alarms in our house, sometimes like if she forgets to turn something off, or I haven't heard from her and I'm looking at these notifications, or someone's in the hallway that shouldn't be in there, and those kinds of things. So I feel like all the time, like I'm looking at that. But even I had to tell myself at night, like, you're going to have to go to sleep. You're going to have to rest. And, if there is a huge emergency, someone's going to get through another way, because those cameras are going off constantly. Those constant notifications between our home and her home.
Absolutely.
It is somebody walks in the hallway, somebody walks in the kitchen, and back, then you've got like 3 or 4 notifications coming through. So it's a challenge. It's a lot to deal with, but finding those moments of escape makes all of that other part easier. And I shouldn't really call it escape. I don't want to think of it as an escape, but more of just peace and calm, where it's like no one needs you but yourself. You need yourself in that moment, and just relaxing. Even my classroom, when lunchtime comes, just sitting in there for a minute, just by myself, quiet. Not that I want to look around all the things I need to do, but just taking a second and then going to lunch and picking up on the socializing with adults and everything. So just finding those moments, I think, are really important to just give yourself, your body and your mind a rest from everything. Because there's so much. We are just inundated with things, and that everything's urgent. Everything's now. And I know that's also part of like kind of American culture. That it's like, got to be doing something, got to be busy, got to be here, got to be there, got to be everywhere. Whenever I travel to another country and people are so chill about everything, they're not stressing about the bus coming or they're just like, it'll happen when it happens. You know what I mean? I'm like, wow, that's so nice to feel like that. And it feels good too, which is why I like traveling, because it's a time to just get away from it all.
But the other unfortunate part about American culture, at least as of late, is that you've got to be angry about something. You got to be pissed off about something. And I mean, do you really? Do you always have to be angry about something?
No, you don't always. There's always something to be angry about, but you don't always have to choose to be angry about it.
And so you really have to, you really need to guard the entrance to your emotions. You really do. You have to decide what's going to make it through. And you can't let every headline and every social media post and thumbnail get through to your emotions, because it really does take a toll.
It does
on you emotionally, and at some point you have to stop, because at some point you really have no one to blame but yourself. If you allow that to just persist. Because these social media companies and what they're going to keep feeding you whatever you're looking for. That's the algorithm. If you're looking for it, it's going to keep feeding it to you. And so you have to decide that I'm not going to pay attention to a lot of that stuff. It doesn't mean, like you said, it doesn't mean you don't look at the news. But what you have to decide is, I'm not going to go crazy over all of these headlines. Exactly. There was a time when, and I don't know if they still do it, I haven't watched CNN in years, but there was a time when there was this constant thing going across the Chiron who would say headline, breaking news. It was always breaking news. It's like, come on now, is everything breaking news? Like, really? Is everything? Everything can't be breaking news. And so you have to realize that some of this stuff is not that important to you, at least. Not everything that goes on everywhere in the world is important to you at that very moment. Some of that stuff it just can wait.
Right.
And some of that stuff is not as sensational as it's being shown in the headline.
Exactly.
And so you have to say, okay, I see what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to have an opinion one way or the other because it just came out. I'm going to give it a moment to get let some more information come in.
Right.
And as more information comes in, I may decide to have an opinion or I may not.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to have an opinion on everything?
No.
I don't.
Yeah.
And I've had friends that get upset with me and why don't you have an opinion on it? I don't have an opinion on everything.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain things where it's kind of like, I don't have an opinion on it. I don't know enough about the subject to really have an opinion one way or the other. It doesn't have an effect on me or my loved ones or anybody that I know. And so it's kind of like, all right, well, it may be messed up for somebody, but you know, I don't know.
Right.
And so those things are things that I don't have to worry about. They don't have any weight on my emotional health. And you just figure out what things you can just let go of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's critical. No, that's what we really have to do. Stop being angry at everything. Stop letting social media and the news get you angry at everything. Not everything is worth your anger.
Yeah, this is true. It's absolutely true. It's something I think that we need to practice. It's something that happens slowly if you let it. You know, you don't even realize that it's happening to you. On the flip side, I would say, like, you know, if you do enjoy scrolling like I do, just click on, like I said earlier, click on things that are more lighthearted. Because when I first started looking at, say, TikTok, it was only funny things. I mean, I'd be up till 2:00 in the morning, dying laughing, tears streaming down my eyes about the funny things that I've seen. Yeah. And somehow that changed. And now I'm starting to see a little bit funny stuff again, I guess, because it's what I'm looking at and things like that. But I mean, there are a lot of feel-good things on there. I love a feel-good story. And so I love when I come across those kind of stories where it's just learning about people. And I'm such a people person that I love hearing stories and knowing about cultures and things like that. So I enjoy that. But yes, definitely making sure that I'm blocking out the negative things because it's just, it's heavy and you can feel it in your body. You can feel the difference when you let go, when you just take some deep breaths and you just change your mind and turn your mind off of that negative thing and onto something better. You can feel the difference immediately in your body. So I think it's really important for us all to take the time to do that and to teach kids how to do that. Yes. And it's easy. I say it to them, you know, at school because they're upset about every single thing that happens, everything that somebody does or says to them. I mean, the smallest little thing. And I'm just like, you got to brush that off. Like, really? Like, you're only here, you're only at recess for 15 minutes. You spent 8 of them, you know, getting upset about something that doesn't matter now, you know? And so it's a learned habit. And I think we have to learn to turn it off too.
Yeah. And you made a critical point because, you know, the way we are right now, our kids are looking at that and they're picking up on, well, they're angry about everything they see. Yeah. Maybe we should be angry about everything we see.
Right.
And they're picking up on that and they're not learning how to filter through the ridiculousness and decide what to get angry at and what to just pass off and just let go of. Yeah. And we do need to do a better job at that. And there again, like you said before, these lessons will not necessarily be learned as they get older.
Right.
You know, we have to make a concerted effort to make sure that young people are learning this. And right now, young people are not learning this lesson. You know, we've seen it with our own, with Joseph and some of the stuff that, you know, but luckily he will come and have the conversation with us and we can talk to him and say, is this what you really want to get upset about?
Right.
You know, I mean, let's walk through this and explain to me how this really affects you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if it does, okay, great. You know, I'm not saying that it can't, but let's walk through and figure out, does this really affect you? if it doesn't affect you, your friends, people you care about, then you got to decide how much are you really going to care about it.
Yeah. I mean, I do care about strangers and things that they're going through. But again, even that work, even all of the social justice work, there's times where you have to lay down. You got to take a nap. You got, right? And there's different levels of fighting for those things. So like, I'm never going to be a person who's going to be like, let somebody else do it. But at the same time, I can't do it all. And I can't worry about every single issue at every given moment. And so sometimes it's just a small thing. Like for me, it's like the kind of books that I read at school. I feel like that I'm doing the work and investing in the future. I may not be out there at the march or the protest, but I am still doing that march and that protest in a smaller venue, so.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's really important to just really take care of yourself mentally and emotionally, and not allow a lot of the stuff that's going through social media to hurt you emotionally. And like you do, I also sometimes use social media for things that have no social or educational value at all.
Right.
I mean, I sometimes that can be a break for me.
Yeah.
To watch something that's just funny.
Yep.
That has no educational or social value whatsoever. Absolutely. Right. I absolutely do that. And I think there's value in just getting a good laugh.
Yes.
And I think like some of the times, and I want us to start back going to Chocolate Sundays up at the Laugh Factory, and just doing stuff like that where it's just having a good time and having a good laugh. But as we get older, it really just becomes more important to just decide what you're going to care about and what you're not going to care about.
I agree.
And it seems like with the way things are going now, with the news and social media, it really seems like people are having a difficult time deciding what to not care about. It just seems like everybody has to care about everything. You have to get angry at everything. And I'm not gonna do that. Yeah. I just refuse. So
protect your space, your mental space, emotional self. Yeah.
So I mean that's really all I had to say on this. Do you have any parting thoughts on this?
I don't. I mean I think I've said everything that is really on my mind in regards to this. So
So we appreciate you listening to the discussion. We'd love to hear what you think. We'd love to hear how you get away from the noise and what your strategies are. And we'd love to hear it in the comments and everything else. But for now, for episode 40 of Love, Growth, and Narratives, I'm Frederick.
And I'm Tiffany.
Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
Take care.